The administration of past President Nana Akufo-Addo has been put in a spotlight owing to the allegations that has been tabled. 81,000 ghost workers found within Ghanaians' workforce. And of course, the former finance minister, that is Ken Ofori-Atta, being declared wanted. And I've been talking to Professor Patrick Asuming, who's an economist. So we're trying to understand what this means for the Ghanaian economy, even as the current president, John Dramani Mahama, is trying to sanitize the country. Professor Asuming, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, looking at the issues that have been tabled before us, is this sort of a subtle indictment on ex-president Nana Akufo-Addo's administration after several years of speculations about corrupt activities festering under his watch?
Well, I think, the indictment itself is, in some sense, how Ghanaians voted at the polls. I mean, some of these things has been in the known, except that because obviously the government was in power, there hasn't been proper investigations. What is new is the one involving the finance minister. I think there are some of the specific cases, about two of the specific cases, some journalists had done investigation and then raised alarm about them while the previous government was in office. But, there were several allegations that were brought to the attention of the previous government that not much was done about. So I think in some sense, there's not too much of a surprise. Many people were aware that some impropriety was going on, but I think it's more or less the details and the amounts involved. I think that's where the surprise is.
Well, it actually paints, a grim picture in that a former finance minister is now a wanted fugitive over corruption allegations. Professor Asuming, do you think, based on his term in office, that he is culpable of whatever allegations that has been leveled against him?
Well, I can speak about one of the contracts that is at issue. That had been a problem. An independent audit by KPMG, a well-known global name, had done some investigation and raised issues, some breaches, including procurement breaches. What we didn't know was the extent to which the finance minister was involved. What this investigation is telling us is that some of it comes right to his doorstep. Of course, it's still an investigation. He hasn't been found guilty yet, so you want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But
of course,
all of these are not sending good signals about the previous government.
Yes, so let's understand how significant these revelations and events are to a country that struggled with debt, of course, meeting fiscal responsibilities and restructuring talks that went on for years.
No, these are important. I don't know if you are aware that the government put a team together called Operation Recover or Loot, who submitted their report today. That's independent of the revelation. This revelation is by the Office of Special Prosecutor. And the amounts that have been mentioned, even though they are yet to go to investigation, the amounts are multiple times what Ghana is getting from the IMF. And that tells you that there are problems. I think the problems with corruption in Ghana has always been known. Every year when the Auditor General of Ghana makes a report, there are billions of cedis, billions of dollars in infractions. Some of them are disallowed. Some of them people are surcharged. So, issue of corruption and mismanagement in the public sector has been a major issue. It's something that even the current government, while they were in power before, struggled to deal with. So it's an issue that all Ghanaians are looking forward to see how we address them, because if you're able to even have some of these financial improprieties, the savings that we make, it will be more than whatever amount we've been borrowing from the international capital markets.
Okay, so Professor Asuming, aside investigations, what would you advise as the best approach to successfully fighting corruption in Ghana, one of the mantras of the John Dramani Mahama administration?
I think, the problem has been allowing independent institutions to do their work. There are so many independent anti-corruption institutions in Ghana whose work tend to be stifled by the executive. And I think that has always been the problem. So it's only after a government has left power that these independent institutions are able to go and do the investigation. So overall, Yes, we said that we should build a stronger institutions and build a stronger governance culture. But it always comes down to the people, the actors who are likely to be affected are the ones who have to build these institutions. So I think it's time for ordinary people, ordinary Ghanaians to stand up and, demand a lot more accountability and demand that our public office holders allow independent state institutions to do their work. I think that in terms of having the framework and the institutions, we do have it all. It comes down to when they have the political will and when they receive the political backing to do their work. I think that's where the issue has been.
Okay, let me put you on the spot, Professor Asuming. Now, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu was present at the swearing-in ceremony of President Mahama. Could it be an inspiration for Ghana's president on how best to deal with corruption within the system?
Possibly. I think the relation between Ghana and Nigeria has been very strong, and we learn from each other. So I think that perhaps the Ghana president can get a few tips from how he's been able to manage from his side, a bigger country with a bigger budget. So perhaps maybe he should be able to take some inspiration from him.
All right, so would you now say that Ghana is on a path of accountability and full economic recovery without President Mahama started his administrative campaign?
I think that's too early to say. The proof will come when maybe there are allegations against some of his own appointees. And I think getting anti-corruption institutions to address corruption cases against your opponent is the easy part. The hard part is when allegations are made against some of your own appointees and how you approach it, which was some of the biggest problem with the previous administration, that they were quick to prosecute cases involving others, but not involving their own appointees. So I think while it's good to see how it started, we want to see when there's a first case against one of his own appointees, how he handled it. I think that's where we see whether accountability has really arrived.
Okay, so let's quickly just track back on the issue around ghost workers. Now, what is the best way to sanitize the public sector and end acts of corruption? And of course, the fact that it undermines fiscal position of the government and the Ghana economy draws this to question.
I think that now we have systems. There's a lot of digitization. There's a lot of biometric requirement before people will get access. So the current state of the public sector in Ghana, if somebody is able to, if ghost names found their names, it means that somebody who has deliberately done it. So I think it's important that when these issues are investigated, we should go to the bottom and find those who have been benefiting from the ghost names and punish them. I think that's what has been missing. We have been building the systems to improve. We have done all the preventive systems, but obviously there are people who have to input names, people who have to input account numbers, people who have to indicate that these people are posted and should be paid. So when issues like this come, the investigations have to be thorough. And we have to go all the way and find out who is benefiting from this. And the punishment has to be exacted and should be severe enough to become a deterrent. I think that's where, when it comes to this issue about ghost names on the public payroll, I think that's what we have to do.
Okay, I think that's a safe place to land. Professor Patrick Asuming, an economist, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us on the show.